My wonderful people, the Mega Modded series is back for the 1.6 update, and things are just as bonkers as last time. Is that a sea monster? Good lord, I can barely walk through this inconveniently timed blizzard. My god, look at the size of that desert. With 2 major expansions, a brand new modded farm, a cornucopia mod which adds more crops, flowers, and artisan machines, additional types of weather, and a bunch more, it's safe to say this playthrough is gonna be a doozy. So like the video if you do enjoy, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. That being said, there's no better way to start than right here on day 1. Welcome to Frontier Farm. In typical first day fashion, I started to clear some room on the farm for my non-existent parsnip seeds. That's right, instead of parsnip seeds, I got a honey halo nectarine sapling. Sounds very exotic. And I did receive a letter in the mail from Eloise. She's a resident of East Scarp, one of the 2 big expansions I added. She has invited me to come and visit the town. I would love to go and visit, however that would have to wait for now because I had more pressing matters, such as putting down my first chest on the farm and taking my first steps out into the valley. I could not have predicted that would involve confronting a big bad looking wolf. You know, for a big bad looking wolf, he was quite mysterious. We're definitely in modded Stardew Valley. A new face I came across shortly after was Nora, all the way from East Scarp. And of course there were familiar faces we all know and love. And some like Andy's, who we haven't seen in a while too. He's a part of the other expansion, promptly named Stardew Valley Expanded. Back in town I popped by Pierre's General Store to grab some parsnip seeds, since, you know, the game decided it'd be too easy just to give me some. Following some further exploration to the north of the valley and talking to some more villagers, I found myself back on the farm, planting down and watering my parsnip seeds I'd bought earlier. To top it all off, I took my scythe to the ground and whacked weeds to get some mixed seeds, which I planted as the night was falling. Look, as far as first days go, this one went pretty well. And I'm aware there are so many mods to highlight, so I'll do my best to talk about them as we go, I promise. As for now, it was time for bed. The second day in the vast valley of Stardew began with the watering of crops. And hold up a minute, I have a pear tree? Oh hell yeah! Oh, sorry, as I was saying, before setting off this morning, I got enough wood to make a chest, and then I took off down to the beach. It was of course to grab my fishing rod from our good mate Willie. I parked up on the pier for the day, fishing by the rock. You can get higher quality fish quicker here by the way, which is why I'm fishing at this random rock. Also, is that a ginger cat just strolling around? Oh, I love modding this game. Well, now that we have some time, I guess I can introduce a couple of these mods. The most glaringly obvious is the Reii color mod, called Daisy Nico's Earthy Reii color mod. And the visible fish mod is back. Pretty self-explanatory, it makes all the fish visible. And I caught a comb jelly? I'm not too sure what that's from, but hey, it looks cool. Just like every playthrough of Stardew Valley ever played, the rain was pouring on day 3, which meant there was no need to water crops and the catfish were out and waiting to be caught in the river. Wait a minute, that doesn't look like a catfish. Well, that explains the random portraits I've been seeing in the water for the last few days. Honestly, I thought I'd installed the mod wrong or something. Turns out it was just autographed portraits. While I'm, let's just say, trying my darndest to catch some catfish, I need to note that you all wanted me to suffer. Yeah, that's right. When I posted about this series a while ago, you all said to make it harder for yourself. Which, okay, you know, that's pretty fair. I've finished Stardew so many times now, and I do love a challenge. That being said, to make things harder for myself this playthrough, I have not installed the UI Info Suite mod, which usually gives you a bunch of whole info by the UI up around the top right of the screen. And when I created the farm, I remixed the community center bundles, and I remixed the mine rewards. But last but not least, I turned the profit margin down to 75%, which basically means if I sold something that was originally 100 gold, it would only be worth 75 gold. So there, you happy now? I caught 3 catfish by the way. Could be worse. By day 4, I was back to watering my crops, like a simpleton. But one upside was a sprig of basil had grown. I can't wait to garnish my platter of parsnips with it. Also, this pear tree is so good. The extra energy is much needed. Heading into town, I met up with Claire for the first time, one of the workers at stinky old Jojima. We don't judge her for it when she's in earshot. The fish I had caught over the last couple of days I sold straight to Willie, and the money I used to purchase the fiberglass rod and a pile of bait. I even picked up a few exotic beach forageables on the way past. Where I was headed was the mountain lake. This is where I relocated the fishing chest to and spent the rest of the day fishing. Look, there's not much to do at this point in the game, give me a break, okay? But the bait on the fiberglass rod made reeling in fish way more efficient, that's for sure. And I got my first book of the playthrough. It gives treasure chests a chance to yield fish roe. I didn't catch anything too out of the ordinary. Wait a minute, is that a tadpole? I love the first Friday of spring because it's pet adoption day. I welcomed a beautiful brown dog to Frontier Farm and I called them Spike. On top of that, my parsnips were grown and were in need of harvest. I shoved them straight into the shipping bin, along with all the fish I had caught yesterday. And while we waited for a big old paycheck, I took off to the mines for the first time today. Fun fact, the mines aren't located where they usually are. It's up here past the lake with the Adventurers Guild. Heading inside, I was quickly surrounded by slimes falling from the roof of the caverns, and I was saved by an adventurous looking guy called Mateo. Mateo is from East Scarp, but spends a lot of his time monster hunting and adventuring. He seems like a pretty good guy to be friends with. This was then followed by meeting Sen. Sen seemed pretty spooked at first. I don't think he's a very serious monster. He then said he was visiting his family down in the mines, and that's gonna be an awkward conversation later on. But not to worry, because I'd only be exploring the upper levels for now. This included collecting copper whenever I found the ore, taking the elevator back up to the surface to clear my inventory into my chest before diving back down and slaying some pesky slimes. You know, as a wise woman once said, it's a very bad day to be a slime in the mines.
Oh, bad day to be a slime in the mine.
I left that night in a panic because of the time, but I made it down 15 levels today, and with a bunch of goodies for my time spent in the mines. I didn't quite make it home though. With the single furnace on the farm now, it was a slow morning of smelting copper ore into bars. I did eventually meander off the farm shortly after, and over in town, Lewis was showing me the old abandoned community center. You know, with these little green guys. In this old community center was an unreadable scroll, which I can actually read, I'll have you know. It says, please subscribe to Poxial, and it gives you 10 years of good luck. And I promise I'm not even making that up. Last night's paycheck was the catalyst for me purchasing a total of 112 potato seeds at Pierre's today. God damn, that's a lot of potato seeds. And better yet, I'm gonna have to water all of these suckers. Let's pray for some rainy days over the next wee while. The pears did come in handy when I was in need of some energy. Have I mentioned how much I love the pear tree? Because I love the pear tree. And adding some extra candlelight in the dead of night was the final task of the day. It looks like our praying went unheard. Day 7 was a beautiful spring day, and I was right back to watering all of my potatoes. I popped down a second scarecrow once I was finished. I didn't want any pesky crows stealing my taties, and I started to head east. Past the museum I went, past this run-down looking crop patch, and over Sheerwater Bridge I ran. At the end of it all, I found Eli, who seemed pretty interested in my adoption of Spike, and of the fact that I'd been to the mines already. Into the town of East Scarp is where I stumbled into Fievel, a little mouse who had just arrived in the valley, on the premise that his poor pal said there were no cats and the roads were paved with cheese. Fievel, my friend, you are going to be very disappointed. Fievel then asked me to walk him to the forest, and I obliged. After meeting the little mouse, I met Dylan down on the beach by the tide pools. He's a marine biologist, so it's no surprise that he's very into his tide pools. But Dylan had work to do, so I went on my way. Some other East Scarp villagers I met were Victoria, who I believe looks after a slime farm, Rosa, who runs the East Scarp Inn, only temporarily while the owners are away, Jacob and Eloise are father and daughter. Eloise wrote to me in that letter I got on my first day. Jacob, on the other hand, is a mobile vet, and fun fact, is Clint's brother. I won't hold that against him, unless I have to. Down on the beach, I came across some sort of cave system. I didn't stay for long, I'll come back later when I'm more prepared. Walking past, I bumped into Aideen, who seems to be of the pompous type. Something fun I figured out while on the beach is that I could go swimming. And my god, just look at that chiseled body. Sorry, just admiring myself. Just up past the beach, I met the lighthouse keeper Beatrice. She seems to have a cozy little life here under the lighthouse. And a little further past the lighthouse is where I found Mateo's tent perched up on the beach. Yup. This is definitely his place. I then noticed a little cave nearby and decided to go investigate. Upon heading inside, I met Lexi, who is a sea monster. For a sea monster, she is very kind and welcoming. Considering she lives underground in the caves, she's made quite a nice place for herself. And last but not least, we have Soot. Soot is a friendly dust sprite that lives with Dylan and Eli. And I will apologize now in advance for what I do to your friends in the near future. I have to admit, Escarp is very cute and cozy. The villagers are all so unique and friendly. The township is thriving by the looks of it. But I'm sure there are stories and secrets to uncover as we learn more about the history of the town and the people that inhabit it. Oh hey, yeah, I'm back to watering crops. I had fun yesterday, but unfortunately I can't explore forever. Someone's got to water the crops, and that someone is me. Soon after, I took a stroll through the Cindersap forest down to the Wizard's Tower. I need some of that disgusting forest juice concoction to read that scroll I found the other day. I mean, I can read it because, you know, I said I could, but, you know, just in case. Oh, hey, Jazz. Did that cat just say hello? I'm on to you, Mr. Ginger. Over in town, I caught Eli on top of the roof of the community center. And so did Mayor Lewis. Eli seems like a bit of a cheeky little bugger. As far as the crafts room bundles went, they weren't too different from normal. But the spring forage bundle did get me to forage for spring onions. So I was happy to wander off into the forest to find them. Not too long into the evening was when I ticked off bundle number 1. This then gave me access to the pantry scroll, and I'm happy to say that this is where the remixed bundles started to show themselves. I had the fish farmers bundle, the artisan bundle, that's normal, and the rare crops bundle. Not to mention the seasonal crops bundle also had some slight changes to the crops needed to complete them as well. Back on the farm that night, I treated myself to a bit of tree chopping and wood collecting. I needed another one because my first one was getting a bit full. I began day 9 picking 2 sugar beets and 1 single onion. Thank you, McSeeds. And yeah, watering potatoes. It was my goal today to reel every single fish out of the mountain lake. Or, you know, as many as I could. No, these fish weren't to be sold for cash, they would be used for energy. Energy for what, you may ask? Energy for a mine expedition. For the next 3 days, I dived headfirst into the cavernous depths of the mine to gather resources, slay monsters, and descend as many levels as I possibly could. Because the mine rewards were remixed too, the chests gave me weapons that were kinda real stinkers. But hey, it did make it more fun. And it was on day 12 that I got to pick my field of potatoes. Plus I found my second book of the playthrough, the Monster Compendium. Making monsters have a small chance to drop double loot. 55 levels later, and it was time to head home after 3 long days of mine exploration. What a relief it was to be on the surface for the 13th. I might have caught a mild case of asthma down there if I stayed any longer. Is that a bear? What is that bear doing? After running some resources home from the mines that morning, I was off to town for the annual Egg Festival. That's right, it's the 13th. It's egg hunt time, and it's time to lock the in. Before I do, I had to purchase some strawberry seeds from Pierre's stall. Okay, now it's time to lock the in. Strawberries are sweet, but victory is sweeter. Off topic, but earlier I found Sen dressed up like an egg. I just thought he looked kind of funny and I just wanted to show you all. Anyway, I went home a winner that night, and you might just say I dreamt about how awesome I am. We got to witness our very first new weather type the following morning. I believe this is muddy rain. I know acid rain is a thing, but I'm not taking damage, so I think it's just muddy rain. I put today aside to smelt bars of copper and iron. Those I turned into basic sprinklers, and I started to draw out a pattern in the field with said sprinklers. I had 153 strawberry seeds to plant. I knew I couldn't make enough sprinklers for all of them, but 13 sprinklers by the end of the day wasn't a bad effort. Whatever yesterday's weather event was, I think it fertilized some of my land. Now that is an epic gamer moment. I took my furnaces on a little field trip to the mines today because I was lacking ores, specifically iron and copper, to make more sprinklers. On top of gathering ores, I got my first monster slayer goal today. It was for slaying a whole bunch of bugs. Moving on to day 16, I got to utilize the bars I had been smelting yesterday to further my field of sprinklers. And I made sure to purchase and plant down a parsnip, a green bean plant, a cauliflower, and some kale for the spring crop bundle, along with, of course, my strawberry seeds. But I had so many of them that my sprinklers just weren't gonna cut it, so I had to plant down the remaining lot just below the sprinkler setup, which, yes, I will have to water, but that's the price to pay for maximum profits. A price to pay indeed. I thought I was done watering crops. Alas, with the strawberries watered, I took up my fishing rod once again to go and do some fishing. This time I was catching fish for the community center. I have to admit, most of the fish tank bundles weren't any different than usual. Only one new bundle called the Master Fishers bundle, but that one would be a piece of cake for a seasoned veteran like myself. After a day's worth of fishing, I hauled all the fish I had caught to the fish tank scroll and I called it a night. Well, an earthquake hit overnight. I was shaken to my core. I'm just glad my pants stayed on. The muddy rain was back today, which I was hoping might fertilize more of my land. Because of the rain, I had an opportunity to catch more community center fish, like a catfish and a shad. Before handing them over, I gathered some wood from back on the farm. As much as I wanted to use it for more storage, I thought it would be better used in completing the construction bundle. The completion of the construction bundle revealed the boiler room scroll, and I had a sneaky peek at the bundles. Okay, that one looks easy. Yep, that one will be no problem. Aw, damn it. So the third one's gonna be kind of hard, and while I brainstormed an easy way to get iridium, I caught myself an eel from the ocean while it was raining, and handed the 3 fish over to the community center. Working hard on the farm, got that new farmer charm. Gonna keep on working till I can afford a barn. I came up with that all by myself, by the way. It turns out all the best mining excursions happen in 3s, because I was back to the mine grind from day 19 through to day 21. Having made it all the way down to level 80, that's where all the gold is, matey, I was able to knock off a bundle for the boiler room the morning of day 22. Completing this bundle revealed the bulletin board bundles. Overall, they weren't too bad. I think I'll just need a bit of planning and a bit of luck to finish it. So I left the community center in high hopes. Gold is my favorite metal, so much so that I reserved the rest of the day to reset level 80 and farm for gold ore. And please don't tell Sin about the atrocities that I committed while I was down here. I'll admit the following day didn't have a lot going on. I spent most of the day running back and forth from the mines, carting all of the goodies I had gathered from the depths all the way back to the farm. You know, normally I'd have the mine carts by now, which makes this process a whole lot less tedious. You guys come here often? Oh, this is Jesse, by the way. I forgot to introduce you. Yeah, I'm talking to you watching. Say hello. Oh, I knew you wouldn't, but if you did, thank you. A beautiful sight of green and red in my fields was a fantastic sight to behold the next morning. I took great joy in picking all of my strawberries and dumping them all into the shipping bin. Shortly after, I used all the energy I had left to clear out the entrance of the farm of debris. Ah, that's much better. I then crafted up some crab pots to take down to the beach. On my way there, I couldn't help but stop and converse with some of the villagers. My yapping turned to someone called Rodney. Rodney is a 2-time award-winning author from Zuzu City, now residing in East Scarp, and he has an obsession with tarot cards. Fun fact about Rodney, Elliot is his nephew, so there you go. I eventually made it to the beach and popped the crab pots down in the ocean. I took a clam I had picked up foraging changing the beach to the crab pot bundle. And I found Abigail and Mr. Ginger having a quiet moment in the town graveyard. And I called it a night after that. Demetrius had braved the onslaught of rain this morning to come and visit the farm, and asked what I wanted to do with the farm cave. I decided this time to go with the bats, knowing I had to get a lot of fruit for the community centre sort of swayed my decision a bit. I ran through the downpour to drop off all 4 crops I had grown for the spring crops bundle, and I ticked another one off the list. Waiting for Pierre's to open was a bit cruel in this weather, but eventually I got inside. I was here to purchase the first backpack upgrade, and I did exactly that, which I then followed with my first trip to Clint the blacksmith. I just wanted him to open a few geodes for me. I thought I might as well because I had a few things to donate to the museum. And after a cutscene of Gunther whining about the fact he had nothing on display, I added my first additions to the collection. You're welcome, by the way. The beach and my crab pots had produced a few more items that I was able to hand over to the community centre. And then I remembered that I had a spare crab at home, thanks to the slaying of a rock crab in the mines, which was just what I needed to finish off that bundle. As the day was wrapping up, I wandered out west of the Cindersap forest and came across a very expansive forest. Deep in the west forest, I found an abandoned section of land called Aurora Vineyard. The house looked more run down than I do after a night on the town, and the interior wasn't much better. Who knows, maybe something exciting will happen to this place sometime soon. Days 26 and 27 were roll up my sleeves and get to work kind of days. With summer fast approaching, I was gathering ores and smelting bars of iron, gold and quartz as I went. I was hoping to have a sprinkler upgrade to my crop field before the change of seasons. Look, normal sprinklers just weren't gonna cut it anymore. And on the final day of spring, day 28, is where I got to see all of that hard work pay off. After picking my second and final round of strawberries, I had crafted a total of 25 quality sprinklers, and I proceeded to make the changes to my crop field. Scarecrows and wooden paths included, of course, because hey, I just can't help myself. But with that, the sun was going down on the spring season. I had made some pretty good progress so far, but we all know that's just the beginning. I hope everyone has their flip-flops at the ready because it's summertime. This morning was spent scything away the dead strawberry plants and prepping my field for the new seeds of the season. Pierre provided said seeds. I purchased a poppy seed, a tomato seed, a hot pepper plant seed, and 196 blueberry seeds. I quickly popped by the saloon to get some salads for energy from Gus before returning home to plant all of my seeds down. I should note that I do need to grow a summer squash for the summer crops bundle, so I'll keep an eye for some in the coming days. I still had daylight to burn once that was all done, so I scoured the valley for some summer forageables, especially in the west forest since it was just so massive. The last item I need is a oh hey, look, there's one right here. Up past the rundown greenhouse is where I managed to chop and mine my way to the farm cave. Well, it was a bit lackluster, but I did get a load of stuff handed over to the community centre that afternoon. I then circled down to the blacksmith where I had 5 copper bars handy for Clint to upgrade my pickaxe. As we all know, this takes a couple of days, so in the meantime I dropped off a strange doll I had found in the Aurora Vineyard house to the museum, and I stripped the west forest of some of its trees because I needed wood. And lots of it. Oh my god, it's hot today. Susan, who the hell are you? Oh, you're from up past the rock slide. Oh my god, do you feel like passing out or is that just me? A terrible heat wave had hit the valley on day 31. It was so hot that I lost energy for the day and my sprinklers lost the ability to do the one thing that they're supposed to do, all because it was so damn hot. So instead I had to sweat through my straw hat in order to make sure my crops had the healthy drink of water they needed. Although I'm surprised the water didn't evaporate the second it came out of my watering can. And you'll be happy to know I gave Spike an extra top up of water. I think he'll need it. Over in town I found Mayor Lewis and Morris having a squabble outside of the Jojo Mart about the land slide that took Morris a whole season to clear. But guys, do you think we can move this conversation inside or something? After picking up some more salads from the saloon, I went back to tree chopping for the rest of the day, which was very sweaty work. Thankfully, the heat wave had passed by the next day. Waiting outside the blacksmith was actually quite pleasant. When 9 o'clock hit, I ran inside to pick up my copper pickaxe, which I swapped out for a copper axe upgrade. Thanks, Clint. Alright, see you in 2 days. My top priority for the day was to catch a sturgeon. I needed one for the fish tank bundle, and well, it didn't go quite as planned. Ah, damn it. Oh, come on, don't be stingy. Oh, finally. Alrighty, let's... Oh my god, it's already 5 o'clock. At least it finished off another bundle, so I don't feel too bad. What little time I did have left of the day, I used to reorganize my storage and furnaces. Rain was spilling out of the sky on day 33, which gave me a chance to catch more community center fish. On my way down to the beach, I got a little distracted picking up some forage along the way. I did eventually cast my rod out into the gem sea, and I stayed until I had the fish I needed, which is funny because I caught a red snapper on my first catch. Then it took about half the day to finally catch a tuna. With a few tilapia caught in the middle, they all went to the ocean fish bundle. I then paid a visit to the community center where I dropped off a few donations that I'd been holding on to. And I finished the day on the farm clearing out some rocks. On the following day, the rain had gone from spilling out to pouring out of the sky, and it was accompanied by flashing lights and rolling thunder. It's a shame I don't have any lightning rods up. I need a battery for the boiler room scroll. But not to worry, what I do have is some summer squash seeds. I dug them up in town, and I wasted no time running home to plant one down next to my other summer crops. Passing through the backwoods, I made my first trip up to Robin's place. You know, most people commission a coop first. But me? No. I commissioned a fish pond. A weird choice at first glance, but you may remember I need fish roe and potentially aged roe for the fish farmer's bundle. Not weird, okay? I actually need it. Back down at the blacksmith, I swapped out my new shiny copper axe for a steel pickaxe upgrade. And I found a whole gold bar in a trash can. Ignore the part about me going through people's trash, but who throws out a whole bar of gold? Anyway, back on the farm is where my day wrapped up. I put my copper axe to the test chopping down stumps around the farm for hardwood, and more importantly, XP towards foraging. Oh, and I found an orange tree too. Ah, what a beautiful day. I might go and chop more trees for foraging XP. Oh hey, it's Willy. I wonder what he wants. Oh my, that's a big old fish. Once Willy had finished yapping about the king salmon head caught, I set out to get level 6 foraging. You know, I expect this to take all day. It's a pretty big task and oh, I did it. And look at that, it's only 8:30 AM. Okay, well, I'm not too sure what to do now. Wait, what's that? I can hear something. Something a wise man once said. What preceded was fishing away the day in the rain. When in doubt, fish it out, as I always say. Of course! Let's go fishing! On my way home that night, I ran into Linus poking through some trash cans in town. And look, after finding that gold bar yesterday, I'm all for it. Go nuts, Linus! With level 6 foraging secured overnight, I could craft my first lightning rod. Now I just need Zeus to send down a few bolts and we'll be away laughing. In the meantime, I picked up my pickaxe from Clint's and took it all the way to the mines, where I continued to dive into the depths of the caverns. It ended that night on floor 100, and this is where I obtained my very first star drop. That increased my maximum energy level, and it tasted like subscribers. Oh, wait a minute, that makes me sound like I eat my subscribers. I don't eat my subscribers, I promise. It's just, you know, it's funny, now it just sounds weird. On my dawdle back home, I got into a very cute interaction with Sen. He's bouncing off the walls because he ate too much ice cream. We've all been there, Sen. We've all been there. Ah, Jesus, is it hailing? Ow! Why does it hurt? Oh damn, that's doing some real damage. The hailstorms apparently in the valley are so strong that they actually hurt you. So I panicked and took shelter in the first place I could think of, which was the mines. Luckily, I had some business to take care of down here anyway, such as catching a lava eel. And I thought I might as well continue the descent towards the bottom of the mines. Look, it sounds better than getting battered by hail. I finished on level 110 that night, and I've never run for home so fast in my life. life. Surprise, surprise, I'm quite sore today. I took a few too many hailstones to the head yesterday. But on the plus side, my honey halo nectarine tree had grown. And also, it was thundering. Across at the community centre, I found myself handing over some squid ink I found in the mines for the pantry, and 5 quartz bars for the boiler room. Then down in the mines, I went fishing for driftwood. I think I forgot to mention that I had filled my fish pond with a few tilapia, and they were after some driftwood. So now you know. With the 3 driftwood acquired, I returned home to drop all 3 pieces into the pond. I'm so glad to have been of assistance. And before bed, I popped by the farm cave to collect some fruit. Waking up the next morning, I gathered a battery from my lightning rod and a summer squash from my crop field. What a great start to the day. It was probably not surprising that I then paid a visit to the community centre. Turning in the battery meant a single piece of iridium ore was all that was left I needed to finish the boiler room. And while I was there, I gave over an apricot for the artisan bundle. A message popped up shortly after about the luau festival happening today, which I totally forgot about. However, it was a bit too late for me to scrounge something up for the potluck, so instead I vowed to bring something extra special next year, and I hit the mines for the day. I hit the bottom of the mines later that night and headed home for a much needed rest. A single tomato was ready for harvest on day 40, which I was just simply over the moon about. Look at me showing that beauty off. Day 40 was also the first day that I remembered about the travelling cart. She comes to visit every Friday and Sunday, and I purchased a rare seed from her. And I did find this little shortcut to her from the farm, so that's fun. Today's task was to clear out more of the farm. It's tedious work, but it has to be done. I'm glad I did though, because I think I found my answer to my little iridium ore problem, and it presented itself to me in the form of a big spiky meteorite. I had to double check that my steel pickaxe wouldn't cut it. My intuition was correct, definitely not strong enough. Before heading out, I crafted 2 tappers, which I placed on some nearby trees, and pursued some adventure out in the West Forest. What I found out here was a secret little pathway, and at the end of it was a jar of some delicious looking maple syrup, which I took for my own benefit without considering any sort of consequence. A little while later, I found myself down on the beach. What this group of flamingo looking birds were discussing, I couldn't quite hear, but I did use some wood to build a bridge that would gain me access to the tide pools. And that was about the last productive thing I did before bed. So moving on to day 42. As I entered the world again this morning, I was greeted by a sea of blue in the form of ready to harvest blueberries. Oh, no matter how many times I play this game, the sound of blueberry picking still gives me goosebumps. After dumping them into the shipping bin, I took off with an inventory full of stuff for the community centre. I then circled down to the museum to drop off a couple of artifacts I'd been holding on to, all before using the rest of the day building an oak tree farm. A classic Poxial structure. No good playthrough is complete without a good old oak tree farm. A light jog through town over to Clint's is how I began the next day. I was here to get myself a gold pickaxe upgrade, which was followed by a light jog up to Robin's, where I commissioned my first coop to be built in the fenced off area that I had cleared out the other day. Outside of Marnie's, I dug up an artifact spot on my way home and managed to dig up a whole boomerang. Now that is a beauty of a boomerang, mate. Time to go and put some shrimp on the barbie. Some tree chopping was next on the agenda. I needed the XP for another foraging level, which I got a little later on actually. What a grand sight it was to see my fish pond had finally produced its first batch of fish roe. I'll need a lot of this for the community centre. That foraging level I got last night was exactly what I needed to unlock and craft some tree fertilizer for my oak tree seeds. And I wasn't quite too sure what to do for the day, so I headed on down to the beach. I happened upon my 3rd book of the playthrough down here, but you might notice that it's not one of the usual ones. No, it is in fact part of a mod that I haven't mentioned yet, called Button's Extra Books, which essentially just adds more books for me to collect. This particular book gives artifact spots the ability to contain better items. And well, what else is there to do down down at the beach other than fish, eh? On my way to Clint's the following day, I bumped into Morris in the town square. He was speaking to the masses about how great Joja is. At least that's what I think he's imagining, cause he's yapping and ain't no one listening. I left Morris to it and picked up my beautiful gold pickaxe, which I swapped out with a steel axe upgrade. Back on the farm, I took my gold pickaxe to the meteorite I had found the other day, and there it was, glorious iridium ore. The final piece of the boiler room puzzle was in my hands, and I used it to complete the final bundle. I then spent the rest of the day down in the mines, where I managed to luck out and get an ancient seed. I was down in the mines for resources, by the way, just in case you were wondering. Oh boy, it's another day of blueberry picking. I hear the cha-ching of profits ring out as I dumped another blueberry haul into the shipping bin this morning. There's no greater sound. I kept myself busy today by dropping that ancient seed I found yesterday off to the museum, and I was able to plant 2 growable ancient seeds down back on the farm. I also did some foraging down at the beach, and found out the minecart system can take me to the bottom of my greenhouse. Wait a minute, I haven't unlocked that yet, therefore I don't think I should be here. Okay, I'll make a vow that I won't use it until I actually unlock it. I did take the minecart to Jessie's clearing though. She has a beautiful section, by the way. Look at all the flowers she has. Anyway, it turns out I had just gotten distracted on my way to the mines, because that's where I spent the remainder of my day. It seems I had nothing better to do on the morning of day 47 other than to wait outside the blacksmith. So, how are you guys going? Good. Oh, okay, great. Yeah. I'm good too, yeah. Yeah, it's a long wait, huh? I grabbed my steel axe from Clint and returned home. I got to clearing out debris from the fenced area adjacent to the coop, and with it cleared out by the afternoon, I found some time to pay Robin a visit. To no one's surprise, I did in fact commission a barn to be built on the other half. And on my way to Marnie's, I went and purchased one of the vault bundles. Okay, I'm here to do business, Marnie. Oh, for God's sake, she's staring at a wall again. Well, with Marnie unable to do business at this most important time, I killed time clearing more of the farm that night. Day 48 was a simple day. I dropped off a peach to the community center, I purchased another vault bundle, and perished the mines of its precious resources and monster loot. Too easy? On to the next. Thanks to that tree fertilizer, all of my oak trees were now fully sprouted. The last thing left to do was to attach a tapper to every single one, and I was now tapped in and ready for success. Of course, oak resin would take some time to make, so in the meantime I paid Gunther a visit and dropped off the final dwarf scroll. I foraged the beach dry of all of its forageables. I got 2 chickens from Marnie, now that she wasn't staring at a wall, Chickadee and Beatrice. They are absolute class A cuties, and I paid the mines another visit for another resource collecting run. What a celebratory way it was to commemorate day 50 by picking a field of delicious blueberries. Marking the halfway point of the first 100 days of this mega modded playthrough, I spent the day expanding the crop field with some sprinklers, emptying the fruit filled farm cave, and collecting money bags from a money tree? Oh, my dreams really have come true. Money really does grow on trees. A little while later, I found myself having a chit chat with Vincent on the beach. He was harping on about seeing a green sea monster. I wonder how I'm gonna cut it to him that the monster is real. And her name is Lexi. Well, it's a conversation for when he's older, I think. The last thing I did today was place down even more sprinklers. I awoke today to the most peculiar sight. The rain was green. Do not fright. Well, you see, it was a strange incident, and there was no coincidence that it started overnight. Sorry, that was my best impression of Roald Dahl. Anyway, the green rain phenomenon was drenching the valley today, so I made the most of it by collecting all the fiber and moss that I could possibly muster. It was back to Gunther the following day to deliver a couple more artifacts I had found on my adventures. I then popped by Marnie's to pick up a pail and 2 cows for my newly constructed barn. Moo Moo, original, I know, and Otis. After feeding and petting my animals on the farm, I quickly popped into the community center and purchased another vault bundle, before paying Willie a visit and purchasing an iridium fishing rod, a big upgrade from the fiberglass rod. Later that evening I dropped off a fiddlehead fern to the chef's bundle in the community centre, and I decided to call it an early night. I had a big task to accomplish this morning. I bought that iridium rod to help me catch one of the hardest fish in the sea, an octopus. You see, I needed one for the fish tank, and I got my chance later that morning. With the octopus safely in my hands, I took it straight to the fish tank and completed another bundle. As a matter of fact, it wasn't just the octopus I got to hand over. My star fruit that I'd been growing went to the dye bundle, and the hot pepper I gave to George for his knee. You enjoy that hot pepper, George. You enjoy it. I noticed the mess lurking below the crop field that evening and decided it would make a nice job to finish the day with. The rain may be pouring, but it's hard to dampen the spirits of a man who has a field of blueberries to pick. With the final blueberry harvest under my belt, I checked in on Chickadee, Beatrice, Mumu, and Otis, like a good farmer should. And I'm pleased to report that they are healthy and happy. Today was a day spent back in the mines. The demand for iron and coal was high, so to collect the goods I had to put today aside for such a task. A fun little side note, Mateo gave me some elvish jewelry in between resetting levels. I think he likes me. With only 2 days of summer left, day 55 was a bit of a choresy day if you will, which included things like looking after my animals, paying the museum a visit, smelting ores, clearing the fruit cave, and clearing out farmland, amongst other monotonous yet necessary tasks. Before I knew it, the final day of summer was upon us. I took great joy in collecting the first round of oak resin that my tapped oak trees had produced. I used it alongside some wood and copper and iron to craft my first 20 kegs. This upcoming fall season had one word plastered all over it: profitable. I spent time on the farm today collecting another round of money bags from the money bag tree and selling off some extra fruit that I had been collecting all season. I then explored a new area past Susan's place and the railroad. It was a graveyard for the fallen soldiers of the Adventurers Guild. Some stones were too faded to read, some even hinted at items that I could obtain for slaying monsters. But everything was leading up to the biggest event of the year, the return of the Moonlight Jellies. You'd be amiss if you think the Dance of the Moonlight Jellies isn't anything short of a musical masterpiece. And tonight was no such exception. My favorite season in the valley had finally fallen upon us. Oh, sorry, that was bad. In typical first day of the season fashion, I had to cut down my dead crops and prep the fields for a new round of crops. Over in town, I popped by Pierre's to get the seeds I would need for the season, which included a lot of pumpkin seeds. Those seeds I ran home and planted them down in the field, and afterwards I wrapped up my hard work by watering the rest of the soil. With some time still left in the day, I used it to clear bits and pieces off the farm, which led me to the wondrous discovery of an apple tree. The significance of this apple tree is huge, and you will see why very soon. But for now, I was just content to see my sufficiently filled field of crops. My pursuit of fall forage took me into town this morning, where I stumbled into Robin and Lewis putting up the special quest board, something I'm sure that will keep me busy this fall season. The West Forest is where I did most of my foraging today. It was the perfect place to find all of the forage I needed, plus some new forage I hadn't collected yet. After a quick fish in the river to catch a tiger trout, I handed everything over to the community center. Into the afternoon I went, and I spent it milking the cows and chopping trees for wood. That wood chopping continued to day 59. It took me all morning, but I finally collected enough wood to satisfy Robin's resource rush quest. Speaking of Robin, I commissioned a farmhouse upgrade from her shortly after. Circling down into town, I remembered a nifty little item added to the game called a prize ticket. You get these bad boys for finishing special quests, and they grant you prizes from the prize prize machine at Lewis's house. As for the rest of the day, well, it involved a lot of staring out into space and some planning of the remaining community center items, but mostly staring out into space. The next day I set aside for collecting KIG related resources from the mines. That's all I did. Day 61 began back at the museum, dropping off an artifact to Gunther. My lack of coal forced me to buy some from Clint shortly after this, which was a shame because money at this point in the game is quite precious, but I did need it to smelt the iron and copper I had, so I guess it would be worth it. Following this, I tapped a maple tree I had been growing, grabbed some apples from my apple tree, and entered the secret woods for the first time. But with the expanded mod, you might not recognize the secret woods at first. That's because it's been expanded, but it's still got all your bog standard amenities, such as tree stumps, and the Master Cannoli statue, and slimes, and an additional fun nod to the floating basket glitch. I also found a floating wall decoration. Very spooky. Good times, good times. Robin had finished her work on the farmhouse. Part of that upgrade was a kitchen, and I made good use of my new kitchen today, prepping and cooking a fried egg and a maki roll, both of which made suitable additions to the chef's bundle at the community center. As the afternoon rolled around, I popped by Clint's to get a copper hoe upgrade, and I made use of Robin's services once again to get a big barn upgrade. I had some doubts about the rest of the day, so there was only one thing to do. Through the rain, I collected my second round of oak resin this morning. The resource collecting and purchasing of coal had been worth it to add another 20 kegs to the collection. My fish pond had also been producing roe for the last wee while, so much so that I had enough to complete the fish farmer's bundle in the pantry. As the morning came and went, I found myself geode unboxing at Clint's and handing over any new minerals to Gunther. After a couple of rounds of this, I cozied up with my fishing rod on the river, because it genuinely took me all day for my brain to comprehend that it was raining, and I needed to catch a walleye. Luckily, it didn't take too long. I caught it that night. The walleye was the final fish I needed to knock off the fish tank, and I ticked off community center room number 2. I can't wait for another lovely day in the valley. Oh my god, it's hailing again. It was just my luck that one of the special quests this week was the ectoplasm quest from the wizard, which I quickly accepted and took shelter from the rain and the safety of the mines. So with nothing better to do, I got to slaying ghosts. And yet still no ectoplasm. The morning of day 65 I spent berry picking. Super cute, I know. But I did need about 50 blackberries for a bundle in the community center. And when you're picking about 3 at a time, I picked 50 quite quickly actually. And right to the forager's bundle they went, along with some wild plums. Then it was back to the mines to find some ectoplasm. Now I really think this is just going to take me all day. Oh hey, well that was quick. And thanks to the monster compendium, I doubled the ectoplasm that dropped. Quick sidetrack, outside the mountain lake, Willie handed over a spare pan to me. And I think we all know what a pan is good for in a Poxial playthrough. Anyway, back to the ectoplasm. One of them I dropped off to the wizard for the quest, of course, and I used another prize ticket in the prize ticket machine at Lewis's. The other ectoplasm I slapped on a sign. That way it's forever embedded in the history of Frontier Farm. Oh, and then a blood moon rose, and monsters started attacking me on the farm because the blood moon allowed the undead to rise out of the ground and exact their revenge on me. Just your usual Tuesday night, if you ask me. All signs of the blood moon had vanished by the next morning, thank goodness. The eggs my chickens had been dropping all over the coop floor were handed over to the home cooks bundle at the community center. And when I got back home, a horrifying discovery was made. That hail from the other day had plowed right into my corn plant and killed it, which is stressful because they take a very long time to grow and I need it for the pantry. With Pierre's closed today, I had to pop into Joja Mart for the first and last time just to grab a single corn seed. I'm glad I saw that. And some speed grow isn't a bad idea either. Whew, crisis averted. What took up the rest of my day was some good old ore smelting. Well, someone had either hotboxed the entire valley or I'm going blind, because it's quite foggy out here, folks. Thankfully, it didn't stop my ability to drop off some milk to the home cooks bundle, or to purchase 100 wheat flour for the exact same bundle. You know, besides the fact that I'm broke now, I finished another bundle. If it's any consolation, I did find my 4th book while chopping down trees later on. By the 12th of fall, a single eggplant and a piece of broccoli had grown in my crop fields. I was too eager to wait for the others, so I dropped it straight off to the community center. Having squandered most of my earnings on 100 wheat flour yesterday, I decided to fish for the day to make some of that cash back. Funnily enough, after fitting a few chores around the farm, I did the exact same thing the day after. I hate being poor. I even went as far as to catch the full legendary fish, the angler, just for a little bit of extra cash. The thought of poverty was sucked right out of my brain as I awoke on day 70. Pumpkins to harvest and oak resins to make more kegs worth. The profit bell was a ringing in my head once again. It is my plan to keg all of these pumpkins for even more coin. However, it slipped my mind that I wasn't exactly balling. So the next round of pumpkin seeds were sponsored by the gold quality pumpkins that I picked this morning. I did plant down another 313 pumpkin seeds down on the farm, and my first round of pumpkin juice was set and underway by the afternoon. I did sell off a few more pumpkins to Pierre later on to cash away some extra moolah, and well, I gathered some wood that evening, and that was about the day wrapped up. Well, what a dark and moody looking day. My first couple of ancient fruit had grown this morning. I crafted a seed maker so I could turn them both back into seeds. I'll be doing this until the plants die out so I can get a head start on a huge ancient fruit crop later on. I then paid Robert a visit to grab myself a deluxe barn upgrade. You see, I need a piggy in order to get me a truffle for the community center. However, I do need a deluxe barn to house such an opulent animal. Passing by the community center, I dropped off a pumpkin to the pantry, and a little later on, I picked up the fragments of the past special quest. This tasked me to gather 100 bone fragments, and there was only one type of bony monster that would do the trick. A break was much needed on the 16th, not just because skeleton slaying is exhausting, but because the 16th boasts the Stardew Valley Fair. Now, because I don't have a lot of items to my name, I made the decision not to participate in the Grange display this year. Instead, I focused solely on getting another star drop, which I managed to obtain after a bit of fishing and gambling. A 40-year-old dad's dream. Even though the fog was back again today, I didn't see much of it because I made my triumphant return to the mines. For yes, more bone fragments. Oh, would you just look at that glorious pumpkin juice. Isn't it just beautiful? After loading another batch of pumpkins into my kegs, I took the juice straight to Pierre's to sell. I mean, come on, I want my profits now. Granted, I needed this money to purchase a pig. By my calculations, the pig will produce a truffle on the very last day of fall. All I need is Marnie to be working. Holy shit. She's taking the day off. I think I'm going to be off by one single day. Oh my god, are you kidding me? Well folks, it's official. Marnie is my most hated Stardew Valley character. What that now means is I think I have to get very lucky with the traveling cart if I want to finish the community center this year. Oh, well, I did get all the bone fragments I need, but I'm too sad to care. I was straight to the traveling cart this morning. Every Friday and Sunday I will be here without exception. I'm pissed, can you tell? I did purchase my pig from Marnie. I called him Oinkers. Look, it's hard to hold a grudge on a pig called Oinkers that's cute. So I guess I'll let it go for now. So it was back to normality today. I picked up my copper watering can from Clint's, and while I was around, dropped off the 100 fragments to Gunther, which ticked off another quest. And you know what that means? Prize ticket! The money I had left over from the juice, I invested in the last vault bundle, completing community center room number 3. Back on the farm that afternoon, I was bumbling around the farm when I happened upon book number 5. This one gives me +1 defense. And overnight I got to watch the Junimos do their little happy dance as they fixed the bus. Gunther had sent me a letter the next morning with a crafting recipe for a bone mill, my reward for completing his quest. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be using that one a lot. I'm not. With the bus up and running now, I hurried the town drunk along to drive me to the desert. It was a short trip out, and here it was. The desert in all of its barren glory. I checked in with Sandy, who greeted me in a similar way to how I act when I haven't seen EJ all day. And I bought a couple of beet seeds. Once I had done some foraging of the desert forage, things such as coconuts, sugarcane, and cactus fruit, I took the bus all the way back home so I could plant those beet seeds. Into the afternoon the day went, I dropped a cactus fruit off to the dye bundle, and I made a start clearing away the debris from the west side of the farm. I was hoping Eli would give me some good luck with the cart this morning, but I was disappointed yet again. No truffle. Turns out I enjoyed the serenity of debris clearing though, because I was back at it again today. It's not really until you've cleared out such a large section of land that you realize just how big this farm map is. More room for moneybag trees, I think. It was rare crop galore on day 78. Both my ancient fruit and rare seeds had sprouted this morning, and some corn, not quite as rare but still important nonetheless. The ancient fruit I promptly put through the seed maker, the corn I used to finish the fall crops bundle, and the sweet gemberry I used for the rare crops bundle. Ticking off those 2 bundles finished off the rest of the pantry, and we only had 2 scrolls left to finish. Ignore me, I just like watching the Junimo reward me with a gold star. The other sweet gemberry I hauled over to the secret woods, and after a quick maze puzzle to get to the Master Cannoli statue, I handed over the berry and was rewarded with another star drop. Another round of juice needed to be taken care of back on the farm, so I quickly dealt with that before partaking in the steering contest with my crops. I'm sad to say that I lost, however I did get to see the Junimos do their little happy dance again. With the greenhouse now accessible, I wasted no time getting an iridium sprinkler set up and planting the ancient seeds that I had been cultivating. If it isn't obvious by now, I do have a greenhouse mod installed called the Oasis Greenhouse. I mean, come on, it's got a whole basement down here and plenty of space for fruit trees later on. I'm a big fan. I popped into town afterwards to purchase the 3rd but not final backpack upgrade. I have another mod installed that lets me purchase a 4th backpack for even more inventory space. I don't quite have 50 Gs to spare right now, so I'll come back. As for the rest of the day, I put my axe to work gathering hardwood from the valley for a special quest I had picked up earlier. The quest for hardwood continued into day 80, although it didn't take much effort since I got most of it yesterday. I dropped 80 of it off to Robin, ticking off another special quest. And while I was there, I commissioned a silo to be built on the farm. It's not that I don't like feeding my animals, it's just that I can't be bothered. The prize machine this time gave me 3 mystery boxes, and up at the Adventurers Guild, I was initiated into the guild by Marlin, which was nice, but I was actually here to check the monster slayer goals, which then prompted me to go and lay down the law on some helpless dust sprites. Dylan and Eli might have suit as a pet, but they are clearly not pet material to me. The following morning I found my beets ready for harvest, and in my mailbox was a letter from Rosa over at East Scarp. Double toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble, a call to goblins, ghouls and ghosts. East Scarp Inn shall play your host, dressed to impress or to deceive, when the hour strikes 13 on Spirit's Eve. Due to the Night Town's festivities, you'll need to come via the mountain path. Watch out for monsters and Marlin. The beet I harvested, I took over to the community center and used it to finish off the dye bundle. Afterwards, I decided to bus out to the desert and partake in my first Skull Cavern run. As you can imagine, I wasn't geared up as I would have liked to have been for this, so I was cautious and I took my time. Now, you wouldn't believe believe it, but you have to see it to believe it. Yes, that is a lucky ring. It won't be a part of my official panning with Poxial count because, well, I didn't pan it up, but I did equip it because I'm not silly. Oh yeah, I have 6 ring slots, by the way. Another mod I added, I kind of forgot to mention. Back in the safety of the farm is where I found myself the morning of day 82. I had another round of pumpkin juice to deal with, which I am not complaining about. The traveling cart was back with more useless rubbish, aka no truffles. However, I did quickly pop into the saloon to grab some salads, and I dived headfirst back into the skull caverns. The slimes make for a great way to get iridium actually, and after a day of it, I passed out on level 45. Not too bad if you ask me. Granny Evelyn paid Frontier Farm a visit this morning. She was here to drop off a garden pot, and the recipe to make more if I so wished. She's such a sweetheart. I found a casual 10 Gs just sitting in my mailbox from the mysterious Mr. Key for passing level 25 in the skull caverns. And the second and final pumpkin harvest was the main attraction of this morning. Thankfully, I wouldn't have to sell any of these for extra money like last time. They went straight into the chest with the others ready and waiting for kegging. Apart from purchasing the big chest crafting recipe from Robbins, there wasn't much else to do today except to go and visit East Scarp's scary Halloween setup. I stopped in at the East Scarp Inn, and to be honest, it was actually quite cool. The place had been decorated to the nines in Halloween themed decor, and everyone was in costume. I'll admit, there wasn't too much to do, but it was fun to walk around. In the meantime, I was waiting for the Spirits Eve festival in town. Everyone was making their way there from the East Scarp celebrations, which led to a fun follow the leader moment. The Spirits Eve was pretty standard. I made it through the maze and got my golden pumpkin before calling it a night. How it is already the final day of fall is beside me. Gosh, time flies when you're having fun. This morning, Mayor Lewis came to me with important news, however. The governor was sending his wife and son to stay here in Pelican Town for the winter, more specifically in East Scarp. I just have one question. Why don't you do it, Lewis? You're the mayor. Alas, it was a foggy final day of fall. I spent the morning collecting oak resin, tending to my animals, flipping off the traveling cart for not having a truffle, and commissioning a big coop upgrade from Robin. I wanted a bit of a fresh start for winter, so to aid in that goal, I redid the farm storage. I turned all of my chests to stone, placed down some paths, and reorganized all of my things back into the new chests. Happy with my storage upgrade, I tucked into bed a bit tighter tonight, because the chill of winter was just around the corner. Folks, winter has arrived, and I can't feel my toes. I shouldn't have checked, but I did anyway. Oinkers was now a fully grown pig and ready to dig up truffles, but his refusal to go outside was a hard pill to swallow, so I ran away before I could get too upset. I ran away out into the valley to try and find myself some winter forage. However, when I got to the community center, I realized that the winter foraging bundle required holly. I had to pause on the whole foraging thing for a bit to go and do Mayor Lewis's job for him. I met with Josephine and Oliver, the governor's wife and son, who were making their way into the East Scarp Inn, and I kind of just watched them go to their room. Lewis wasn't very clear on what to do after greeting them, so blame him. Now that Josephine and Oliver had been warmly welcomed to the valley, I got the magnifying glass from Krobus over in town, and found me some holly in the depths of the West Forest. As I ticked off the winter forage, I finished room number 5, and the Nautilus shell I found earlier wrapped up the field research bundle. Let the record show that the final item needed to finish the entire community center was one single truffle. And Marnie, if you're listening, this message is for you. You son of a... I can't believe you... It's unreal that you don't work. Why are you staring at a wall? A nice mixture of rain and snow were falling from the heavens on day 86, which actually made it a great day to be planting some crops. Not many, I might add. Winter isn't exactly a bustling crop season, but Pierre was selling some mint seeds. Those I planted down alongside the winter seeds I got yesterday from the community center. Afterwards, I popped off to the quarry for a while, unlocked last night from finishing the craft room. Big win for me, I got a prismatic shard. I feel like I really needed that. Anyway, Anyway, I was just here to clear it all out for some resources. With the quarry now bone dry of stone, I headed down into the quarry mine. I'll admit there's not a lot down here. The only noteworthy thing is, of course, the golden scythe. Pumpkin juice, I imagine, is disgusting, but it makes me a lot of money, so I don't mind the smell. I had a few tasks on my list this morning. The first was to get myself a steel hoe upgrade from Clint's. The second was to take that prismatic shard I found yesterday all the way out to the desert. I hauled it all the way down to the 3 pillars, and with the shard high above my head, I summoned the galaxy sword. This is the kind of upgrade I've been yearning for. Back in the valley, I passed by the special quests board and picked up the juicy bug quest. A perfect excuse to take my galaxy sword for a spin. Oh, good lord, I can't see a thing. Oh my god, this blizzard is insane. I hope I'm going the right way. Well, I did go the right way because I made it to Robin's, and I spent an hour raw dogging a blizzard in a shirt and trousers while I waited for a shop to open. Now, maybe I might pass by Harvey's later for a frostbite treatment. Never to mind, I was here to commission a deluxe coupe upgrade. From what my grandparents have told me, this is the kind of weather they walked through to get to school every single day. Over at Marnie's, I grabbed a couple of heaters and some hay. Gotta keep an eye on my animals in these harsh conditions. However, for the rest of the day, I kept clear of the blizzard back in the mines, bug meat collecting. Before heading back again, no, I didn't finish yesterday. I paid a visit to Clint to swap out my hoe for a watering can upgrade. It's a good thing I like slaying monsters. With all the meat I needed, I returned back to the farm and extended my hub area a bit with my furnaces just above the farmhouse. On day 90, I took all of the bug meat to the bin Willie had requested I dump it all into on the pier. Good god, that has got to be one smelly as bin. I got another prize ticket too. I was rewarded with a star drop tea. Perfect to give to someone who needs a lot of friendship points, which is everyone at this point, so I'll keep it safe for later, I guess. I had brought with me my whole geode collection so that I could use Clint's weak yet sturdy looking build to crack them open. This scored us quite a few more additions for the museum. Then it was time to open the mystery boxes. You know, I think part of me was just praying a truffle would pop out of just sheer luck. Unfortunately, those prayers went unanswered, but I did get another book at least. This one makes finding mystery boxes just a little easier. Then to round the day off, I went back to clearing out more of the farm. We're on the home stretch of these 100 days. It's day 91 and we still have a lot to do. Things like gathering and kegging another round of pumpkin juice and swapping out my watering can for a gold axe upgrade at the blacksmith, and also using 100 hardwood to fix up this tree stump into a cozy little home for someone to inhabit. As the afternoon rolled around, I was welcomed into the Adventurers Guild as a hero. Am I just happy to see you? Or is that one big old galaxy sword in my pocket? I also met someone called Alicia. She's an archer from Castle Village. Whatever that may be, I'm sure I'll find out soon enough. And lastly, Gil offered to fix the mine carts around Frontier Farm if I got him the right materials to do so. So I added that onto my mental to-do list. I was honestly only here to see how many dust sprites I had left for the Monster Slayer goal, which prompted me to duck into the mines and get to work. One even dropped a prismatic shard for me. What can I say? I'm just too good at this game. After a day of dust sprite slaying in the mines, I was quite happy to smelt ores for a while this morning. The copper and iron bars I donated to Marlin and Gil to fix the farm mine carts. This killed some time while I waited for the Festival of Ice to start. The legacy of Poxial began when I won the egg hunt, and it shall continue with my ice fishing victory. Well, I'm glad I won that. My ego would not have coped well if I didn't. Marlin gave me a quick update on the minecart situation this morning. Everything was on track. That's funny. On track? Like minecarts? Yeah, minecarts are on tracks. No? Okay, just me then. It may be winter, but today was still a day of harvest. Albeit some winter forage and some mint, but hey, crops nonetheless. And I turned the forage back into seeds and replanted them for another round. Back at Clint's, I picked up my gold axe and turned in my hoe for another upgrade. I then passed by the special quest board and picked up one from Jazz to feed the stray kitty cat on Escarp Beach some perch. So that's what I did.
2,000 years later.
Yes, I'm still here. It's taken me a lot longer to fish up 5 perch than I thought it would, but I did finally catch the last one late that night. I ran all the way to Escarp, found the crate, had a quick chat to Sen, put the perch in the box, and ticked off another quest. Down at Marnie's is where I started day 94. With a deluxe coop and barn, I thought I should fill them with some more animals. So I got 2 ducks, Cassidy and Phil. I got 2 rabbits, Humphrey and Prude. I then got 2 goats, Polly and Ned, also 2 sheep, Barbie and Barbara, and finally 1 more pig, who I called John. A short while later, I was passing by the stump house when I saw a new resident of the valley. The raccoon who had jumped from the greenhouse had taken residence in the tree stump I had made up, and he had a quest for me to get him some fish. I made a mental note of that and then got completely distracted riding the farm minecarts now that they were fixed. Afterwards, I smashed through some rock so I could go and have a word with the dwarf in the mines. I purchased the big stone chest crafting recipe and book number 7. This one makes bombs deal less damage to myself. Speaking of books, I managed to get 2 more on my adventures, the alleyway buffet and the mapping cave system books. And following another round of pumpkin juice and a trip to the blacksmith to swap out my hoe for a gold watering can upgrade, the next day is when I got book number 10 from the valley's one and only bookseller Marcello. Some of the modded books were also available to purchase, but I did have limited funds, so I kept to the basics and got Way of the Wind Part 1. Afterwards, I spent the rest of the day down in the mines, wreaking havoc and slaying dust sprites. Day 96 began at the traveling cart. Ironically, there were no truffles, but there was a red cabbage. This game is just taking the piss now. I let my frustrations out on the poor dust sprites yet again, but my efforts would not be in vain because in slaying so many of them, I knocked off the monster Slayer goal. My reward being the burglar's ring from Gil, an integral part of any good Stardew playthrough. The most notable thing I did on day 97 was tick off another monster Slayer goal. This time, it was the Dougie monster Slayer goal. By day 98, I wasn't holding my breath for the cart. Even if she did sell a truffle, I wouldn't have the time to do anything with it anyway. But she didn't. It would have been nice to have one, I guess. But that's okay because I was hungry for some danger. And what better way to fulfill that desire than with a skull cavern run? Day 99 boasted the second to last pumpkin juice run. I'll be honest, I was just running low on pumpkins. That being said, I spent the day clearing what was left of the farm debris. I happened upon my late grandpa's shrine on the side of the mountain, and I attended the first night of the night market down on the pier. Eli accompanied me down to the bottom of the ocean in the submarine, and was bear witness to the catching of a few exotic looking marine animals. But before I knew it, we had hit day 100 already. I took some time this morning to pick my winter forage that had grown, which I then turned back into more seeds and replanted. Up at the railroad, I bumped into Clint of all people. Lewis had hired him to move the boulder in the way of the summit. That would have to be something I look into next time, because as is tradition in all of my 100 days videos, I spend the final day soaking in the spa, reflecting, and most importantly, relaxing. It's been a pretty big 100 days. We managed to get a lot more done than I thought we would, and I might still be a little bit upset about the truffle, but that just means we've got a lot to look forward to in the next one. Not to mention all of the secrets and stories that I'm sure are just waiting for us over in Eastscarp. I'm also so excited to see what else has been added on to the Stardew Valley expanded expansion. Plus, there are mods that I haven't even been able to showcase yet. But for that, my friends, you will just have to wait until next time. For now, I think I'm just gonna relax here for a while. Now get out of here and go download these mods for yourself. They're a lot of fun. So there you have it, folks. That is the first 100 days of the Mega Modded series done and dusted. I'm so excited to continue this series, so if you want to know when the next part comes out, then subscribe to the channel and maybe even like the video if you enjoyed it. I'd appreciate that a lot. If you have made it this far, thank you for sticking around, and well, there's not much else to say except you're all wonderful people, so have a wonderful day and thanks for watching.